Who thought it was a good idea to milk a cow? Seriously, at some point in history, somebody looked at a 1,500-pound animal, walked underneath it, squeezed its udders, and decided to drink whatever came out. And somehow, that became normal. Today, billions of people drink cow's milk every day. We pour it in cereal. We put it in coffee. We turn it into cheese, yogurt, ice cream, and about 100 other things. But the weirdest part is that we have absolutely no idea who started it. There's no cave paintings, no ancient records, no diary saying, "Today I drank cow's milk, and it was surprisingly good." But historians do have a few theories. And to understand them, we first need to talk about something even stranger. For most of human history, adults couldn't properly drink milk. During the last ice age, and for thousands of years after, the amount of lactase adults produced as they got older was significantly less than the amount babies produced. Lactase is the enzyme that breaks down lactose, the main sugar found in milk. So, if you handed a glass of milk to the average adult 11,000 years ago, their stomachs probably wouldn't be too happy about it. However, this raises another question. If humans couldn't drink milk, why were they milking animals in the first place? The earliest clue didn't show up until the 1970s. Archaeologist Peter Bogucki was excavating a Stone Age site in central Poland when he discovered a pottery shard covered in tiny holes. At first, it looked like a very broken bowl, but Peter had seen something similar before. A friend of his owned a cheese strainer with nearly the same design, so he proposed a strange idea. What if these ancient farmers were making cheese? The problem was that he had no way to prove it. So, the pottery sat in storage for decades. Then, in 2011, geochemist Melina Ruff, or something, here's it on the screen, analyzed some residue trapped inside the clay. And sure enough, she found the milk fats. Peter was right. These weren't random pots, these were cheese strainers. And at roughly 7,000 years old, they are the oldest known evidence of cheese making ever discovered. And honestly, that discovery makes a lot of sense, because cheese is much easier to digest than fresh milk. Early farmers may have discovered that turning milk into cheese or yogurt removed much of the lactose that caused stomach issues. In other words, humans may have figured out how to process milk before they figured out how to drink it, which is honestly peak human behavior. Our body said, "Please don't do that," and humans responded,
"We do not care."
But eventually, something incredible happened. After generations of raising cattle and producing dairy products, a genetic mutation began to spread through parts of Europe. This mutation allowed adults to keep producing lactase throughout their entire lives. Suddenly, milk wasn't just baby food anymore. It became a reliable source of calories, protein, and nutrients. And because people who could digest milk had an advantage during famines and poor harvest, the mutation spread. So, humans didn't start drinking milk because we evolved to digest it. We evolved to digest it because we started drinking milk. But before we start imagining some random caveman walking up to a random cow, there's one important detail. Cows weren't the first animals humans started milking. Long before cattle became major dairy animals, humans had already domesticated sheep and goats. Many researchers believe people may have been collecting milk from these animals thousands of years before cow's milk became widespread. Which means the first person to drink cow's milk may have not been making some revolutionary discovery. They may have simply looked at a cow and thought, "We're already doing this with goats, so why not try the bigger version?" Of course, that creates a new issue. Who thought it was a good idea to milk a goat? The first theory is surprisingly simple. Humans may have just copied what they saw. If baby goats, sheep, and calves could survive entirely on milk, then maybe humans figured they could too. After all, early farmers spent their entire lives around animals. They knew where milk came from. The question was whether a human should drink it. And eventually, a weird person may have decided to find out. But maybe curiosity wasn't the reason. Maybe it was desperation. Imagine you're living thousands of years ago. It's the middle of winter. Your crops have failed. Food is running out. And your family's starving. But you own a cow. You could kill it for food. Or you can notice that it produces food every single day. Now, milking a cow doesn't sound weird. It sounds like survival. And maybe that's exactly how it started. People were just desperate for food, so they milked an animal. There's also one more possibility I believe in. Maybe milk wasn't originally for adults. Maybe it was used for infants. If a mother couldn't produce enough milk, animal milk could have been a desperate substitute. Parents have always been willing to do almost anything to keep their children alive. And history is full of innovation that started with necessity. So, who was the first person to drink cow's milk? And what was their motive? Honestly, we'll probably never know. Maybe it was a farmer copying a calf. Maybe it was someone trying to survive a famine. Maybe it was a parent trying to save their child. But whoever it was, they couldn't have known that thousands of years later, billions of people would be drinking the same thing with breakfast. All because one person looked at a cow, or a sheep, or a goat, and thought, you know what? This might be worth a shot.